Picture this. You're in the middle of a disagreement with your partner, and you have the ultimate upper hand. You've brought verifiable facts, a timeline of events, and airtight logic to the table. In a perfectly rational world, laying out that undeniable proof should end the conversation. The facts are clear, the puzzle is solved, and your correctness is officially established. But instead of an apology, you get the exact opposite. You get cold shoulders, sudden friction, and emotional withdrawal. You proved your point flawlessly, and things somehow got worse. We tend to navigate our relationships based on a specific premise, that human connection is a strict meritocracy. We assume that if we simply avoid doing anything technically incorrect, if we can prove we are not wrong, we earn automatic immunity from conflict. But here is the reality of romantic partnerships. Objective correctness carries zero weight in this context. If your only strategy is to win the factual battle, you are guaranteed to lose the emotional war. This diagram shows the game. Inside this rigid box are explicit rules for winning. Success is measured by scoring points or citing empirical facts. But zooming out reveals this strict box is embedded inside a much larger, fluid, overarching macro system, the metagame. The metagame doesn't care about the scoreboard. It operates on unspoken rules, things like likability, sportsmanship, and long-term relational harmony. Because these two systems overlap, an interaction effect occurs. It is mathematically possible to secure a total, undeniable victory in the localized game, while simultaneously suffering a massive defeat in the overarching metagame. Think about a tennis match. A highly skilled player steps onto the court and defeats his opponent over 5 sets. He uses superior physical skill and beats the other guy fair and square. He clearly won the game of tennis. But imagine that, in his victory, he immediately starts gloating. He brags about his technique and rubs his superiority in his defeated opponent's face. His bragging is backed by verifiable evidence. He is the better player. But that doesn't matter. He just lost the metagame of sportsmanship. Eventually, despite his skill, he faces alienation because nobody wants to step onto the court with him. This is the systemic trap. When you optimize strictly for a subsystem, obsessing over being right in the argument, you accidentally destroy the parent system that keeps the connection intact. We can map this exact framework onto romantic relationships, but instead of measuring sportsmanship, the relationship metagame measures individual preference. Consider a cat. There is no legally mandated or objectively right way to pet a feline. You can pet a cat 100 different ways, and none of them are technically wrong. But there are physical causes and effects. If you stroke a cat in the direction of its fur, the animal will tend to purr, lean in, and snuggle up in your lap. Conversely, if you stroke that exact same cat against the grain of its fur, it will bristle. You are going to get the claws. And it won't matter if you feel your petting technique is technically fair. Trying to explain concepts like objective fairness or logic to a cat is useless. Those concepts are incomprehensible to them. And frankly, relying on that same objective logic is just as useless when navigating your partner's subjective emotional preferences. Building a fortress around the principle of being right turns you into that vain tennis player. You are prioritizing the game over the metagame, confidently snatching long-term defeat straight from the jaws of a short-term success. The first step toward fixing this is to shift your objective away from factual validation. You have to pivot your focus toward functional, real-world effectiveness. This changes how you process conflict. You stop asking yourself, "Am I right?" and start asking, "Is this effective?" This leads to the concept of strategic surrender. Conceding a trivial factual point serves as a tactical maneuver to protect the larger connection. It is often the most efficient way to win the metagame. Do not fall into the trap of entitlement. Earning points in the strict game of logic entitles you to 0 credit in the emotional metagame. They are different currencies, and they do not convert. Now, you might feel the urge to argue that this isn't how the world should work, but arguing against reality is a waste of breath. If you want to be successful, you have to operate within the world exactly as it exists right now. The path forward is simple. Stop imposing universal logic on an intimate dynamic. Instead, actively study the specific, idiosyncratic preferences of your partner and act on what you learn. True relationship mastery requires intentional strategy. You must consistently prioritize the highest metagame you can conceptualize over the fleeting satisfaction of simply being right.